Hi, I'm Todd. I've been a professional UI designer for nearly 20 years. About 8 of that's been spent in the gaming industry. I played Magic the Gathering for decades, and as of recently, I picked up Riot TCG Riftbound. Now, Magic is both MTGO as well as Arena for online play. Riftbound, however, has no official digital client, so I decided to explore what a Riot Riftbound client might look like. I started by whiteboarding, sketching, and ideating, loose and fast. You can see I started exploring some widgets as ways to duplicate some of the card mechanics. Here I've gotten rid of the legend card. In this sketch, the legend spins with a 3D Pog-like interaction as opposed to tapping. Again, just spitballing. And in this sketch, maybe we swap the legend card out for a piece of animated art. Point is, in the digital realm, the legend no longer needs to be a paper rectangle. Acknowledging that we didn't need to use cards in this space led to one of the big revelations of this exercise. I saw there was two very different directions to explore, one that was very card-centric and one that was more widget-based. So here are some wireframes. On the left, we have a card-centric approach. On the right, the widget-centric approach. If you play the physical card game, the card-centric version could be very easy to learn, and the reverse would be true too. Those that start here could breeze right into their local game store, and that's a big pro for this direction. That said, cards are a clunky way to handle some of these repetitive mechanics. They take up real estate and are just inefficient in a lot of ways. This widget could replace all these rune interactions. Furthermore, we can now have animations or models to spice things up. Again, our legends don't have to be flat 2D pieces of paper. Staying card-centric could be a total waste of the potential of this medium. This is a strong argument for this widget-centric direction. So which of these directions is worthy of getting a full UI mockup? I think they both have merit. Let's just do both. First, let's explore how the card-centric direction might actually look. Let's skin this. I imagine before anything loads in a given game, we might have something like this. This is very similar to our wireframes at this point. Rune deck and usable runes on the left, hand in the middle, legend and champion to the right, all the way to the right are trash. Halfway up here we have our battlefields. At the top of the screen we have our opponent's play area. Battlefields could load in and look something like this, and I suspect this is where most designs would leave it. In my design though, I think we'll actually shrink them down and push them to the side. Again, leaning on the power of digital here. We don't need these cards taking up all this real estate, and to be clear, we can hover over any card in this application and get a full-size version of it at any time. So if we need to check on this battlefield rule, we can. Now I wireframe this play space as a flat zone. However, now that I'm skinning this, I want to see some perspective here. Flat is fine, but this is cooler. Now we have some depth similar to MTG Arena. Now we can do more than that. We're designing this for Riot. They push boundaries. So my pitch is we don't just show the card, we bring in the actual battlefields. This will create much more immersion. I've yet to see this anywhere, and I think this will be sick. Now, we could play on this clean glossy space, but for now, let's drop in this repurposed TFT texture. And just to take a quick look, we can cycle through some random backgrounds. The play area holds up pretty good, so that's a good sign. Now let's slot in our side of the play space. Here come our runes, deck cards in hand. At the top, we'll have our opponent's play area. The obvious move here is to just reflect our play space up, which is what happens in real life. However, I don't think we need most of this information. I think something like this covers the stuff I need to see in a much cleaner way. I could even shrink their legend and chant more. This is less imposing. So after a few turns, the play area might look like this. We have drawn some extra cards, and both players have some units in play. That is a pretty typical game state, and I gotta say, I think this is all working pretty well. Now at this point, I took a cue from my other wireframe and thought, what if our legend wasn't just a card? This is still our card-centric design, so I think the card should stay, but also let's add a 3D counterpart. Once again, this adds a ton of flavor. It also just harkens right back to the source material, which is League of Legends. Now, when you exhaust or tap your legend, maybe the 3D counterpart reacts. Here, Irelia is tapping to untap a card with her ability. And maybe up top, we even see the opponent's avatar as well. Here's Master Yi. So there you go. I think this is all working really well. I would love to play a game of Riftbound on this client. But don't forget, we still have a whole other direction to explore. That was my mockup for the card-centric direction. Let's have a look at the widget-centric option next. Since I had used Jinx in the wireframe, I decided to give this mockup a Jinx theme. And that gave me an idea. Whoever your legend is will dictate how this play space looks. If this was Yi, maybe we would have a forest or something. For Jinx, it's a carnival style. Over here on the left, I designed this point gauge widget. I had this in the wireframe too. In Riftbound, winning is sort of a race to 8. First to 8 points wins. What I like here is rather than the two separate tracks you get on most playmats, this is a single track. In this design, players move towards the center, towards each other, and I think this adds an element of conflict I like. Honestly, I'm surprised that I haven't seen this yet. Also, the widget itself is composed of some carnival lights. Again, staying on brand for Jinx. If this was Master Yi's point gauge, it would be a piece of driftwood or something. Here we have a runes widget. This gives you all you need to know about your runes without the hassle of drawing 2 cards a turn, laying them out, exhausting them, recycling them, and tucking them back into your deck. The widget is easier to read and digest, and it does all that work for you. We don't need cards to manage this system on a computer. So let's talk about the big pitch for this direction. Notice there's no legend card. Instead, I want a full-blown animated 3D model. Riot already has all these models and animations. This character could talk and possibly play out scenarios. I picture this being very arcade flavored. For example, let's say we cast Jinx's signature spell, Super Mega Death Rocket. She could say something clever.
Hey, Fishbones, should we blow something up?
Pull out Fishbones, the rocket launcher, and fire our rocket off screen. Then we get 5 damage to target somewhere. Obviously, we choose an opponent's unit, and that card is destroyed. I think there's a ton of potential here for fun interactions. I also think this direction could just really lean into the characters and could really let their personalities shine. So there you have it, 2 very unique ways to approach this digital client. What do you think? Which direction do you prefer? Get at me, and if you work at Riot, definitely get at me. I want to know your thoughts. Thanks for your time.